want to be with me. What does Louise mean by that?
What she's written.
Well, she's clearly under the impression from her card that you loved her.
Did you love her? Do you love her? Caroline?
No. No, I don't.
Staff Ma, are you aware you have submitted numerous leave travel claims for addresses which you are not entitled to do so?
I get it. You can't get a confession, so you're going to screw me for anything you find.
In box 4, you put an address in Edinburgh. Whose address is that?
Louise Marshall's.
You put her down as your fiancée. Why was that?
Because it was an address I visited. It was explained to me that it had to be relatives or a fiancé because the category of friend did not suffice.
So you admit that the details on this form that you have signed are not correct?
Not entirely, no.
And yet you still did it?
I think you'll find a number of people have.
The Get You Home scheme entitles you to nominate the residents of close family. At the CO's discretion, a fiancé or another designated person for whom a regular, long-term relationship exists may be nominated. Does the Edinburgh address relate to such a person authorised under this scheme?
I couldn't use my subsidised travel for any of the other categories. I was entitled to assisted passage for some of my leave journeys like anybody else. I could have lied. I could have said I was going to my parents, but claiming for a journey that you didn't make is an offence. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to be dishonest.
Do you wish to add anything to what you have already said during our previous interview, Staff?
Yes, sir. Can I ask you a question? This whole investigation started because there was an allegation that I was having an unnatural relationship with Major Lang, didn't it?
It was not an allegation against you and a specific person.
These allegations were made by a fellow officer, weren't they? Did someone read my mail and keep back my letters so that they could conveniently reappear when the SIB came to search me? Sir? No doubt these informers were just doing their duty. They couldn't get a confession, but they always find a way. They've screwed me for anything that they could find. They went through my expenses till they found something. Found my leave allowance for visiting you. They've got me, Lou.
Staff Sergeant Meagher, you are charged with Section 70 of the Army Act of 1955, in that in Londonderry on the first day of January 1989, you contravened Regulation 793, subsection 4, paragraph C, relating to the use of leave passes and payable allowances connected to relevant journeys. Your crimes are of a despicable and dishonourable nature. You have besmirched the reputation of the RMP, a corps whose honour you've sworn to uphold.
I devoted 12 years of my life to the army. Even though I'd been an investigator myself, it all seemed so bizarre that amidst the pressures and dangers of service in Northern Ireland, the army could be so obsessed about my sexuality. I underwent 4 days of grueling interrogation, but I'd never admitted to being gay. The army eventually decided they didn't have enough proof to dismiss me. Despite this, during the research for this film, I was shocked to discover that my army records state that I was guilty of disgraceful conduct of an unnatural kind. I was found guilty of making a false entry in an official document. If my expenses claims had been for visiting a male partner, then this wouldn't have been an issue. I was reduced to the rank of sergeant, and, as I had resigned, I was allowed to serve out a year's notice as a punishment posting at Guildford. In the last 10 years, over 700 members of the armed services have been discharged on the grounds of their sexuality. But many hundreds more have left the services after gay witch hunts. Some, like me, were found guilty of lesser charges. Many others resigned, unable to cope with continually being under suspicion. Today, the Ministry of Defence refused to say just how many members of the armed forces are listed as gay suspects on their computer data index.